How many of you done these now? How many?
A lot.
Yeah, you have.
So this is your co-host?
Hey there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, and we all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. As you can see, I'm a thorn between two roses here. Two lovely ladies. Introduce yourself, Sydney.
I'm Sydney Zeiker, the director of the Safe Community Institute at Crime Stoppers of Houston.
Yes, you are. Introduce yourself.
And I'm Daphne Jack, the founding CEO of Prevention Zone, Inc.
We're going to be talking to Daphne here in a little bit about all that she does with her nonprofit. But first, Sydney, we're going to talk about what's going on in Austin today. Yeah, why you're here today, right?
Of course, I'm here because Andy's not here, but Andy is not here because he's testifying on legislation, various pieces of legislation in Austin. So let's run through some of those.
Yeah, two that we've talked a lot about on the Breaking Bond segments. Let's start with felon in possession of a weapon.
Okay, so felon in possession of a weapon is not being testified on right now, but it is something that is being considered in this session to be added to SB 6, which is the piece of legislation we talked most about in the last session.
Right.
That piece of legislation gave parameters for bail and prohibited PR bonds
For certain
for
things.
certain violent
Violent offenses, correct.
So since all of that happened, we've now started looking at the amount of felon in possession of a weapon charges in cases filed in Harris County.
And keep in mind, these are people that by law should not have a weapon. They're a convicted felon. They shouldn't have a weapon. And when they do, it's sort of disturbing to think that they have a weapon, because you've got to wonder, why does this felon feel the need to arm themselves?
So it's something that we started tracking through the Glenda Gordy Research Center, which is our research center that's in-house here at Crime Stoppers. And we've noticed that since 2018, we've seen felon in possession of a weapon cases filed rise by more than triple.
Yeah.
So we currently have 1,170 active cases, felon in possession of a weapon cases filed, and about 17% of those were given PR bonds.
And again, PR bond, a personal recognizance bond, we are not saying that felons in possession of a weapon should not be given a bond, but a PR, a personal recognizance, basically a get out of free jail card. We've tracked some of these defendants, and they've gone on to commit other crimes. In some cases, murder.
So Senator Huffman has been pretty vocal about examining this issue. Since 2019, in Harris County alone, we've seen over 8,000 of these cases filed. And so she's looking at adding that as an amendment to SB 6. And that would just give a few more parameters for bail for people who should not, by law, by the terms of their previous offense, be able to have a weapon.
Right.
Now, for us, when we're looking at things like, the widely discussed issue of gun violence, it's something to be considered.
Yeah, and that's such a hot topic, especially at schools. No one wants anyone to walk into a school setting with a gun, and there's just a lot of talk about changes with gun laws, but people just don't seem to be that upset about the fact that you have convicted felons that are walking around with guns because they're on a personal recognizance bond.
It's something to really consider in conjunction when you're looking at other issues that we have in our city and county, like the amount of stolen weapons, specifically from vehicles.
Yeah.
And who's stealing those, and where are they going, and then what's happening from there. So I'll be really interested to see how far that gets in this session. But there are many other pieces of legislation that could also help with kind of the safety, the public safety issue that we're all seeing and facing.
Let's
right
talk
now.
about the other one.
SJR 44.
Mhm.
How did I read your mind. It's like we've done this before.
That's right.
Okay, so SJR is the constitutional amendment that I feel we've been talking about for many years
Yes.
at this point. But it's proposed by Senator Huffman as well. And it would simply give Texas voters the option to vote on at the ballots if judges should be given discretion for bail terms.
That's the thing I like the most about it, is because if it passes, it's basically going to be something that everybody gets to vote on. And we're talking about changing the Texas Constitution to give judges more discretion.
Because constitutionally, you have to give a bond. A judge must give a bond.
Except for capital
murder in the state of Texas. And so there have been judges who have testified on several pieces of legislation regarding bail and bond in Texas and saying, look, like I don't have the tools
Right.
at my discretion to do anything other than give a bond. I have to do that. So as Randy said, I personally like any opportunity for the voters to decide.
To everybody get to have their say.
Absolutely.
So if this were passed in this session, it would then go onto our ballots, and then we collectively could decide if this is something that we want changed in our Texas Constitution.
And I would think that judges would want it because, again, it's not mandating them to do anything. It just gives them more discretion. If they feel like, hey, I'm concerned about this defendant who has multiple sexual assault charges. I'm concerned that this defendant is not, society is not safe with this person walking the streets. Then the judge can say, I don't think you should be granted a bond.
And the last bill that I want to make sure that we touch on that's being heard this week is House Bill 1064. It has a duplicate bill that's also House Bill 1618. That means that they're the same. They're just filed kind of by two different legislators saying, hey, this is something that we're interested in. And it's the good time credit bill that we've been talking about that would award credit for being kind of a model prisoner doing what you're supposed to do and allow release on parole based on those credits. So
where the actual time that you spent behind bars and your good time, if they together meet the amount of your sentence, then you'd be released.
Right. So we have victims who are speaking out on that and what that would mean for their case and even the safety of themselves and their families. Right.
And again, I think you go back to, I don't think anyone is concerned about nonviolent offenses where they would get out sooner. But, there's always concern when someone has committed a violent crime that they might reoffend.
Yeah. I think, Paul Castro, for an example, has been very vocal on this piece of legislation and how quickly his son's killer would be eligible for parole based on this credit or this bill.
Right.
And these things are complicated.
They really are. They are.
So these are just some of the pieces of legislation that are happening right now. But all of that to be said, there's a lot to ponder. There's a lot to engage with. And so if all of this feels a bit overwhelming and confusing to you, please go to our website, crime-stoppers.org. We have a whole page on legislation. Simply if you want to learn the process, we have videos that explain that to you. We have videos that talk about how a bill moves from one chamber to the next, how
it can be complicated. It's a complicated process. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but educate yourself.
Yeah. Well, and also too, keep in mind, this is your opportunity to have your voice heard. You can go on the website, then you can review everything and decide what you think about it and let your lawmaker know where you stand. I've said it 1,000 times, but when you send an email to your state rep, your state senator, they are paying attention to those. You put them there, you keep them there, and they want to hear from you. They want to know how you stand on certain topics.
And if you don't know who your legislators are, there's also a feature on that website to find out who your legislator is and to look at some of the public safety bills that have been filed this far. Yeah.
Now let's talk about Prevention Zone Inc.
Yes.
First, You were a parole officer. That's how you got started.
That's how I got started.
Same as Andy Kahn, right?
Yes.
What did you like about being a parole officer?
What I liked about being a parole officer was giving me the opportunity to give back to the community through public safety.
Mhm.
And so I'm a strong advocate because I did want to be a HPD officer, motorcycle cop at that.
Wow.
And so that didn't happen. And so while being a parole officer, it allowed me to see them as another human being. And all of us don't feel that way because, like I would always say to them, I'm 1 foot out of the prison door too. You mess with my family, ain't no telling how I'm mad. I'm just saying, you know, and so I was able to communicate with them, talk with them, allow them the opportunity to reintegrate back into society the way they supposed to. Now, did I have some rascals on there? Sure did.
But there are people that do, you know,
Yes.
we kind of, they don't make headlines, but there's a lot of people that
Yes.
they successfully complete
They
the
do.
terms of their
Mhm.
parole and they
Mhm.
become law-abiding,
Yes.
tax-paying citizens.
They do. And my caseload, and I can only speak for my caseload, my guys was actually scared of me because I told them, I said, if you take me down, you better make sure I don't get back up. So, and they respected me because I gave them respect. And it would be sometime if they did violate, they'll come in office for a regular visit. Miss Jack, I have something to tell you. What is it? I was with my cousins and I'd smoked some weed. And I was like, oh man, what? And so I would hate when they come in and sometimes be honest like that.
Right.
I mean, I had to go get a UA test and all that. But anyway, but that's the respect that they had for me. And they would come and tell, and I would talk to them. And, you know, when I was getting ready to retire, it hit my heart because grown men was coming in crying
Not
when
bad.
I told them that
Yeah.
I was leaving. And one guy said, Miss Jack, do you have to retire? I don't want to go get on that other person. I was like, hey, you'll be all right. You just keep doing
You've got
it.
a really good mother vibe
I
going,
guess
you
so.
know, it's
I
like you're
guess so.
everybody's mother.
Yeah, I guess so.
So how did you start Prevention Zone Inc.?
So it all started out with my son when I started thinking about the youth, young boy growing up and him and his friends. And I looked at it as, you know, he had his mom and dad and life appeared good from the outside, but yet inside there was things going on, you know, issues. And so I said, I want to rally around those children and keep them on that positive note, staying focused and not, preventing them from getting into the system.
Right.
And so I gathered him, his friends, he played football, and their parents, and we would meet once a month, maybe every 3 months. And we would come in, they would come to our house. So it was about 6, 7, sometimes we might have as many as 10. They would come and we would show videos. We invited a judge to come to our home to speak, and an attorney and other people that was in a positive role model. And that's how we got started. And then, of course, when I retired, I just took it a step further. And so dealing with the system myself on a personal note, that was another reason why I wanted to get Prevention Zone up and running, to help people understand how the criminal justice system works.
One of the things that you work on are people that are wrongfully convicted. And then I think we can all agree, no one wants to see anyone in prison
Right.
that shouldn't be there.
Exactly. And I found, and that came about in just thinking when one day I asked one of my guys while I was still working, I said, tell me what you did again, explain to me. And he said, well, Ms. Jack, I really didn't do it. I said, what do you mean? You went to prison, you did it. He said, no. And he told me, staying at the county, took a plea bargain so he could get out of the county and get on with his life. So he wound up taking a plea deal and wind up coming out of prison for something he did not do.
And, I can see that happening if you don't have the finances, to get
Yes.
an attorney and they're telling you, look, if you just plead guilty, you'll be out in a year. If it goes to a jury, you could get 10 to 20. Yeah, I mean, I understand why people end up in that situation.
Exactly. And so that came about. So when I retired, because I'm legislative type person, I like to go to Austin. So I retired. It ended. We always say we get off parole when we retire. So I got off parole on April 30th, 2017 at 11:59.
Oh,
I was off parole. And so, but that Tuesday I had to go to Austin to testify because I retired on the sex offender caseload.
Mhm.
I had to go to Austin to testify about how the guys, when they have to go, the one that have the children offense,
Mhm.
they have to go, say they have to go from A to B, and that's just simple. You can go straight there. But if you got a school zone in between
Mhm.
A and Z,
Yeah, what
they
do
would
you
have
do?
to go way around
Yeah.
that way just to get there. And so I had to testify on behalf saying that it's okay for them to go through the school zone, especially if they ride in the bus.
Yeah, right.
Bus driver can't take them anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so that bill was passed, and so they were able to. And
Sometimes it's just things that make sense.
yes, it
You know, I
makes
mean, that's
sense.
just kind of one of those common sense
Mhm.
things that.
Yeah, this makes sense. So I kicked off real big after retirement. And so moving forward, I decided, I said, well, maybe I should do a nonprofit. And I was saying, oh no, that's too much work. Because I was trying to keep it easy. And then I would get people asking me stuff about parole and how I felt
Yeah.
about this. And then I
Yeah.
said, well, let me just go ahead and sell. So I started on my own trying to build it. And I was like, this is too much work, because I was Googling everything I needed. And so I was able to hire someone to help assist me.
Mhm.
And so we got Prevention Zone Inc. up and running.
You also have a lot of other kind of nonprofits that
Yes.
work with you, that
Yes,
you
I
all
do.
are kind of
Yes.
the same kind of goal.
Yes.
Another thing that you do that is really important
Mhm.
is you focus on kids who have parents that
Yes.
are incarcerated.
Yes, that became into play because, like I said, on a personal note, we kind of dealt with the system a little bit. And so it really raised a concern when that child, that parent is being arrested. That child's supposed to be getting up to go to school
Yeah.
and going with that burden
Yeah.
on them. And you wonder why they're not acting good in school.
Mhm.
You just follow a child home and see what their home
Right.
life is like. And so it really posed the interest. And I was told about Marilyn Gambrell.
Mm.
And I said, okay, I said, I need to meet this lady.
Mhm.
And so I was trying to figure out how can I get into it, because I was not going to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Like if I have the
Right.
program,
Right.
why would I just get with someone who
Right.
already have it going on? So that's what I did. So we finally met. It was a random way of us meeting. And so we finally met, and she's my big sister. And so she's running the program, and she started her nonprofit, Legend and Legacies,
Mhm.
Houston Inc., where she's using all of the kids, or some of the kids who was in the program years ago.
Mhm.
They're like in their 30s now. And
Okay.
so she wants them to come in and help train the youth that she has now.
That's great.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
mentoring,
And so it's really going good. And I've had a chance to go and visit at the schools and speak and everything. And it's a really good program. The kids are very engaged and they love Mama G. That's what they call her. So that's who we're partnered with to help us with that program. And
It's
then-
going to help too, like a kid knowing,
Mhm.
well, here's other kids going through the same thing. I mean,
Exactly.
it's
Yes.
always easier when
Mhm.
other people can relate to your
Yes.
situation.
Yes, yes. And so it's been real good. It's been real good.
When you look at all that your nonprofit does, what is there something that sticks out that you're the most proud of, or that you?
That's a hard
Wow.
question. That's a really hard question.
Well,
You've done a lot. That is kind of a hard question.
yeah, but I could say I'm very grateful for the way things are going with it. We are looking to really move forward into our wrongful conviction program. And so we have a case management system that we're
Mhm.
using. And so the goal for that is to go into the prison system, find out who has a case pending,
Mhm.
be exonerated, and we go and introduce ourselves to those guys or ladies
Mhm.
who is being in the process of being exonerated. So to go in and help them, because can you imagine being in prison 20, 30 years and now you're free? And it always be that when they're on parole, when they get out, they come to the office and report and get a $50 check, the other half.
Yeah.
Whereas with an exoneree, when they come out, they don't have any resources. They don't have anybody to
Right.
greet them and say, meet at the office or whatever. And so our goal is to meet them before they get out, let them know we're not going to tie you down and keep you bogged down, but we want to help you. And
Yeah.
so that's the one that I'm really working to push. But the highlight of it all is Circle of Excellence.
Yeah.
That one is my baby. because I love giving back to those who have been an asset to the community, such as this amazing man right here.
No, thank you. That it was last month. It was in March. Sheila Jackson Lee was
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, and it's just great to see the people that Tim Miller was there.
Yes,
just so many people that they make an impact on the community.
Yes,
and it's just it was a wonderful time. Thank you so much.
It gives me goosebumps when I think about it. But I get so excited. And then the support from the people. I mean, Randy, golly, he had the whole Fox 26 live stream of this event.
D'Artagnan, the general manager.
Yes.
He was there.
I was like, oh my God. My sister friend, Lynn Page, we were talking, as we were getting things together. And so Randy was our MC for the first event.
Last year, yes.
Yeah, in 2022.
You gave Isaiah Carey.
Yeah, who didn't show up.
That's
but
right.
Anyway,
we'll forgive you, Isaiah.
Yeah, we'll forgive him this time. But anyway, so as we were planning, I said, I wonder about Randy. And she was like, yeah. I said, girl, he has 5 Emmys. I don't think this man will come to my little show. And I text him because he gave me his personal number. And I text him. He's like, yes. I was like, oh my God. He said, yes. Yeah. And so then he sent another email and said, hey, can I bring my boss? I was like, super yes. And then I told Lynn, she said, get him to be the presenter. So it turned out truly amazing.
It was.
Fox 26, y'all can say what y'all want about Fox 26. Yeah. I love Fox 26.
State Rep Ron Reynolds, he is the funniest
guy.
Oh
my God. He was the best.
Cracking me up.
Yes,
he really was.
Yes, he was really good. That's my baby.
Yeah. So people that want to know, if they want to know more about what you do or how they can help your nonprofit, what do they do?
So right now we're looking for people. We are looking for donations because we want to kick off and start hiring people to really get our program going. We have lots of volunteers. When you're volunteering, you can't really do, or you can do only so much. Right. But we're looking for people who would donate. We have in our event October the 8th. We're looking for sponsorships for that event.
Tell us about what's you doing in October.
October the 8th is Catalyst for Change Community Forum. And it was created by my daughter, Alex, who's here. She was like, it was during the pandemic. She said, Mom, since we're not able to meet the kids since the pandemic, why don't we do it on Zoom? And so we started quarterly. In 2021, when we finally took it live and we used the theater match. And so we meet in the month of October, which is celebrating Wrongful Conviction Day, which is October the 2nd. But it will be October the 8th. And it's a community forum where we have 4 parts to it. One of the parts is we leave it open for the current events that's happening in the criminal justice system. Like last year, we talked about bail reform. And so we have prison, parole, probation. We talk about that. Youth justice, and then my baby again, wrongful convictions. And so we have people to come in. Christopher Scott, he was wrongfully convicted, and he usually come in every year and talk about that. And we got people that's dealing with youth justice, and then of course myself talking about parole and prison. And so you have a
website. Where can people go to find out more?
You can find me at www.preventionzoneinc.org. www.preventionzoneinc.org.
Preventionzoneinc.org. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Of course.
Yes.
Be sure to tune in to Fox 26 News at 9 for tonight's Breaking Bond. Be kind to yourself and everyone else. Wait a second. It's a surprise, Raymond.
Oh, it's a surprise.
No, we're looking at what we were talking about before. We're looking at some of the things that are going on in Austin that could make a difference when it comes to the bond situation here in Harris County. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
Comments?
Not even from Andy, and he's on.
That's what I was going to say. Where's
Andy's
my Andy
not commenting.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Andy,
We're disappointed in you, Andy.
he's gonna call me and tell me he was busy.
Right. We know better.
And I had him on my podcast before.
Yeah. So you owe her.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks again for watching. We appreciate you. Bye.